Throughout its 100-year existence, the NFL has been involved in several scandals. Officiating missteps, such as those made during the 2019 NFC Championship game and the 2014 NFC playoff game, were scrutinized by fans and others across the league. What are examples of these controversial instances? You may be curious. Look no further. In today's video, we'll look at some of the most contentious moments in NFL history. Keep an eye out. To begin, there are the Baltimore Colts and Cleveland Browns relocations that have left scars on NFL cities. When a team packs up and leaves town, it may leave a lasting wound on the local population. It's no secret that sports franchises sometimes city jump in pursuit of financial stability, but the anguish caused when the Baltimore and Cleveland teams up and left town is particularly palpable. When it became clear that Baltimore would not pay for a new stadium, Robert Irsay packed up and moved his team to Indianapolis, where a brand new stadium had just been completed, the Hoosier Dome. Despite repeated attempts, the Baltimore Ravens have refused to recognize the Indianapolis Colts as an official National Football League franchise. When the Ravens and Colts play each other now, the name Indy instead appears on the scoreboard. When Art Modell, owner of the Cleveland Browns, relocated his team to Baltimore, the city once again had a professional football team. Although Cleveland did not remain without an NFL club for long, the strong and capitalist position taken by Irsay and Modell is still remembered by many. Fans of a team, say the Jacksonville Jaguars, start to worry that their club will go bankrupt and fold when attendance drops and income drops. That's what people will remember most about these moves. Moving on, we have, in the 2002 NFL wildcard game, a pass interference call was missed. Several variables must be considered before a pass interference judgment can be made, making such a ruling infamously difficult. A decade after the event, the missed call in the 2002 wildcard game is still one of the most divisive and passionately contested controversies in sports. In a game against the New York Giants, the San Francisco 49ers had just taken the lead, 39-38, after coming back from a 24-point deficit. The Giants were down and out, but they possessed the ball with less than a minute to play. Unfortunately, a bad snap prevented them from kicking the field goal. On this play, however, defensive pass interference occurred when holder Matt Allen grabbed the ball, glanced downfield, and passed to offensive lineman Rich Seubert, who was then tackled. The officials ruled that Seubert was an ineligible receiver, hence the throw went incomplete and the 49ers won. Following that, we have the Immaculate Reception. The 1972 AFC divisional playoff game between the Oakland Raiders and the Pittsburgh Steelers was a nail-biter until the very end, as the Steelers had less than a minute to rally from a 7-6 deficit against the Raiders. The Steelers were in a bad position with just 22 seconds remaining on the clock and a 4th and 10 from inside their own 20. Steelers quarterback Terry Bradshaw's throw to Frenchie Fuqua was intercepted at a crucial juncture, and the game seemed to be over. However, Steelers fullback Franco Harris recovered the ball after it was deflected and scored a touchdown after a crazy sequence of events. On the surface, this seems like it wouldn't be a big deal, but had the ball come off a Steelers player, the score would have been called back because of a double offensive touch. The touchdown wouldn't have counted until the ball was touched by a Raider. The reason for the deflection and the circumstances under which Harris gained possession are hotly contested to this day. Moving on, Bert Emanuel rule, a decision so divisive that it forced a radical revision of the regulations of the time. In the final minutes of the 1999 NFC Championship game, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers trailed the St. Louis Rams. When Bert Emanuel caught a touchdown pass from 13 yards out, Tampa Bay thought that they had grabbed the lead for good and secured their spot in the Super Bowl. Sadly, it seemed like Emanuel's grab had resulted in the football's nose touching the ground. Review determined that the pass was incomplete, even though Emanuel had possession of the ball while on the ground. Tampa Bay went on to lose the game. The Bert Emanuel rule was created and is still in use today to definitively define what constitutes a catch. Following that, Super Bowl 40 controversy. The Seattle Seahawks and the Pittsburgh Steelers were two of the best NFL teams, and they faced off against each other in Super Bowl 40. A great number of people were anticipating a really exciting battle between the two titans. Nevertheless, the game was spoiled by a series of of surprising officiating mistakes that deprived Seattle of the opportunity to make history. In fact, the referees made so many mistakes during the course of the game that many fans and analysts believe Seattle would have easily won if it weren't for the injustices that were done to them. A number of calls that may have altered the course of the game were apparently missed by the referees, as stated by Bill Levy, one of the game officials. To put it more simply, it presented me with a task. When you're an official, the last thing you want to do is have an impact on the game, which is exactly what happened when I kicked 2 calls in the 4th quarter. It resulted in many nights of restless sleep for me. As a consequence, I find myself thinking about the matter repeatedly. Even after I'm dead, I'll never stop wishing I had been a better person. In spite of the fact that I gave it all I had at the time, I can now see that it wasn't enough. To paraphrase, you need to accept responsibility when we make errors. This is something that occurs to every official, but it's more challenging when it happens during the Super Bowl. Next up, Mike Renfro out of bounds. The most controversial instance of the Steelers' victory was the 1979 AFC Championship game, which was played between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Houston Oilers. This game is seen as the most renowned example of the Steelers' triumph. The Steelers were up by a score, but the Oilers were having a good drive of their own and were getting dangerously close to tying the game. Then, Mike Renfro made a remarkable catch along the sidelines for a touchdown that would have tied the game, but the on-field officials judged that it was an incomplete pass because they didn't believe he had both feet inbounds when he caught the ball. As a result, the score remained tied. Replays proved that Renfro should have been awarded the touchdown, but at the time, plays could not be reviewed. Thus, the Oilers were forced to live with a call that is now widely regarded as one of the worst in the history of the National Football League. The game ended with a score of 27-13, and the Steelers came out on top as the victor. Moving on, we have the Music City Miracle. An argument broke out between fans of both teams in the 2000 AFC wildcard playoff game between the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills. With 16 seconds remaining on the clock and a 16-15 score, it seemed the Bills would pull off the win after hitting a field goal to take the lead. The Titans, however, were not ready to give up, and on the next kickoff, tight end Frank Wycheck completed a lateral ball across the field to Kevin Dyson. The Titans' 22-16 triumph was sealed when Dyson broke free in Bills territory and ran 75 yards unimpeded into the end zone. When referee Phil Luckett realized that the ball to Dyson could have been an illegal forward pass that would have ended the play, he called for a review of the play. The score was upheld in the end, and the Bills were left in disbelief. Finally, as we come to a closure of the show, we have the controversy of the helmet mistaken for the football. The New York Jets and the Seattle Seahawks game from December 1998 featured a little bit of everything. The game itself wasn't very exciting until the final minutes, when the Jets went on a lengthy drive in pursuit of a game-winning touchdown. Quarterback Vinny Testaverde elected to take the direct route to the end zone on 4th down as the Jets were defending the Seattle 5-yard line. The play ended in disaster when Testaverde was unable to cross the goal line, but the Jets were given a score because his helmet was mistaken for the ball. Since immediate replay wasn't an option back then, the official decision was upheld and the Jets won. After the game, Seahawks head coach Dennis Erickson said NFL officials had called him to explain that they had given a touchdown because they had mistaken Testaverde's helmet for the football. Because of the uproar caused by the call, the replay system was reinstated the following season. Well, that marks the end of our show for today. We hope you enjoyed it. On your way out, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.